World War II is considered the largest and deadliest war fought in human history, which involved more than 50 nations fought over land, sea, and air in almost every part of the world. Over 600,000 pieces of artwork were stolen during World War II, leaving over 30,000 still missing to this day. But where was all this art taken, and will it ever be returned to its rightful countries or owners? Disclaimer: this video discusses sensitive topics involving World War II and the Holocaust that may be upsetting to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. In no way is this video meant as a political statement or does it condone the unacceptable and violent behavior that occurred. It is never okay to hurt innocent people. The sole purpose of this video is to discuss the impact the actions of World War II had and still have on art and art history. Hey everyone, welcome to Painting in the Past, a series where I paint something and talk about the past. Now, if you know me, two things I absolutely love and find so interesting are, of course, art and World War II history. So today we're going to be talking about the shocking amount of artwork stolen during World War II. So World War II was the largest and deadliest war the world has ever seen. It started when German dictator Adolf Hitler invaded Poland in 1939. Although obviously this war would involve the whole world, Germany would eventually join forces with Italy and Japan to form the Axis of Powers, and then the US, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union would form the Allied powers. And obviously there were other countries involved because this was an entire world war, but these are just the biggest countries at play. And of course, one of the awful results of World War II during Hitler's reign was the Holocaust. So at the time, Hitler mandated that other nations' cultural property like artwork, jewelry, and precious metals and stones be forcibly taken from their rightful owners for the greater good of the state. Crazy. The Nazis would target private Jewish collections, museums, and other organizations which contradicted the ideals of the Nazi Party. Part of the Nazi Party, the Third Reich's ERR, was one of the main agencies to conduct all of this looting in Nazi-occupied countries. And of course, Hitler ordered that all looted artwork would be placed at his personal disposal. Are you really surprised? No. Hitler wanted the Third Reich to have access to all of the best and most valuable artwork, jewelry, and any other treasures that were stolen from the Jewish people and other groups at the time. And of course, anything they deemed to not suit their narrative or go together with their ideology was sold in an Austrian auction. Believe it or not, the Soviet Union and American armies also participated in some of this looting and kept whatever they deemed valuable to them and fit their personal gains. And they would steal artwork from churches and private collections and destroyed everything that stood in their path, even setting fire to some of the buildings. And you may be wondering, what about all the famous artwork in places like the Louvre? Where did that go? Did the Nazis steal it? No. Actually, the Louvre took all of their artwork and everything that's displayed in there out and hid it. So pieces like the Mona Lisa, which are absolutely priceless, were not stolen or destroyed. During this time, it was estimated that 427 museums and roughly 4,000 libraries were destroyed, destroying about 10 million books and records, which of course is absolutely devastating. Now, you also may be wondering, where did they put all this stolen artwork? Like, where could you possibly put it that other people won't find it? Well, they took it to castles and salt mines in Germany and Austria to hide, and it's actually like kind of crazy to look at the pictures from this. The amount of art and treasures and valuable possessions that were in these hidden spots for so long is actually crazy. And of course, when asked, the Nazis denied that any of these hiding places ever existed and that they had any of this work. And even in 1938, they passed a law that allowed the selling of these stolen works. That is devastating to the people that it was stolen from. Like, could you imagine your prized possessions have just been taken from you? Some, I'm sure, were family heirlooms. They've been stolen, and now you have to watch them be sold, and you don't get the money, and it goes to people that's hurting you. What? That is just crazy to me. Now, in addition to the valuable and sentimental treasures that were stolen, in 1933, the Nazis also started getting rid of degenerate art, which they deemed was obviously not fit for their narrative, and they removed this from museums and different public places in Germany. And this work was mainly created by French and German modernists and included art like Cubism, Impressionism, and Expressionism. It is approximated that about 16,000 of these degenerate art pieces were removed from German art museums by 1938. And at this time, the Nazis would clarify which art movements were acceptable for the German people to enjoy. But don't think they were just destroying these pieces of art. No, they were also selling them. Of course, they had to make money. So about 126 of these paintings and other pieces of art that were spared were sold in Switzerland to increase party revenues for the Nazis. Aren't you so glad this has been a fundraiser for them? And you may be wondering, well, which pieces of art did they save? Pieces from Van Gogh and Matisse were saved and sold. And of course, what was stolen and destroyed had to be replaced, so Hitler created a new form of art that displayed the Vogue community. So of course, like everything else in the Nazi narrative, Hitler wanted this new art form to be very race conscious and race oriented, along with being folk related. And this would replace what he called the Jewish decadence of the Weimar Republic. According to the Nazis, the acceptable art was that of the Renaissance, Dutch and German painters, along with the Italian Renaissance and pieces from the Baroque time period, 18th century French artwork, and of course the Vogue German artwork. Now, once the war was over, thankfully, other countries started to begin to reconcile all the loss and devastation that was caused by the Nazi Party. To address this devastation, researchers began to compile lists and archives to try to locate and get the artwork and other treasures back to their rightful owners. This process would end up being a very huge project, as they had to go through about 20 million pages of records to locate and try to piece together which artwork was stolen and where it could possibly be hidden. These materials also included lots of documents from the U.S. government, U.S. Navy, and OMGUS. In July of 1945, a plane was flown from Berlin to Moscow carrying about 7 crates of artwork that was found. Inside these crates included works from Renoir, Monet, El Greco, and Velázquez. By the time the trophy brigades had been working with the direction of the art committees, they had gone through lots of museums and would end up finding 2.5 million works that were stolen, including treasures and Bibles and old master paintings. Unfortunately, it wouldn't come out till the 1990s that all of these works were found, as their existence was sealed as a state secret. But in 1991, Russian art historians would reveal that these works did still exist, and they will be trying to get returned to their rightful owners. And of course, this was groundbreaking news. Obviously, these works had been stolen and missing for so many years, and now it's finally revealed that they do exist, and obviously the families of the people who they were stolen from, or the people who they were stolen from, want them back. Now, since then, many organizations have been founded and work to return the stolen works from World War II. And this is so exciting. Very recently, a 16th century painting of Adam and Eve by Cornelius Harlem was just returned to the heir of the art dealer it was stolen from. One of the most famous paintings stolen during World War II was Woman in Gold, a painting done by Gustav Klimt, stolen from a Jewish Austrian family. Now, there's actually a movie about this with Ryan Reynolds. It's a very good movie if you haven't seen it. And the story goes that this painting, along with many other possessions and treasures and artwork, were stolen from a Jewish Austrian family. And one of the daughters from this family and her husband would flee to the United States to escape the Nazi reign. And then years later, a lawyer would come along and help her go back to Austria, and she would end up going to court to get the painting returned to her, and this would go up in many levels of the court, but she would eventually win the trial and the artwork was returned to her. Unfortunately, not all families were as lucky, and there are still about over 30,000 works that are still missing from this time. Now, this is kind of crazy to me because, like, what do you do if you have one of those stolen works? Like, you can't display it in your house because what if someone, like, comes along and sees it, and then I would assume they would report you to the police that you have a stolen artwork. Maybe people just don't know a lot about which works are still stolen, but also, like, you can't even sell it either because, like, there are people who would buy it, but that's not legal to sell a stolen piece of artwork now. Some of the most famous pieces that are still missing or were destroyed include Raphael's Portrait of a Young Man, which the whereabouts of this one is unknown, Van Gogh's Painter on His Way to Work, and Gustave Courbet's Stonebreakers, which both of these are believed to have been destroyed. Now, all of this information is just the tip of the iceberg. I read through absolutely a ton of information about this topic, and there's many subtopics that come off of this main topic, so you may be seeing a part 2 of this in the future.